Welcome back, Fire Tribe. Player picks. Game week
Never gets
36. This past week was quite unexpected, everybody. Quite unexpected when you go and look at who led in points. It was players like Emi Martinez. That's not that crazy. Then you had guys like Kevin Schade and Garnacho and Jamie Vardy and Yuri Tielemans and even Connor Cody. You know which team he plays for? Leicester City. Connor Cody.
Guess who had him on his team?
You did. You picked up a lot of the Leicester guys. Credit to you. But the point is, before we get started, Phil, what do you always say when we have one of these weeks where crazy things happen? Use the head. Don't panic. Don't overreact.
It's okay.
FPL is a very reactionary game.
You're still a great manager. You got unlucky.
Yes. Don't go by Jamie Vardy this week. Don't go by Kevin Schade this, or is it? It is Kevin Schade.
Schade.
Kevin Schade this week.
But
After
if you
one
want to
good
get
performance.
better, follow Fireside FPL.
Yes, we'll keep
week after week we crush it.
We're very humble.
We'll keep you. We'll keep your level-headed. Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what we do here. We keep it simple. Stick with your plan. Don't react. Now, transfers. Let's just go right in. No more. Actually, I take it back.
What?
How you boys doing?
Yeah,
I gotta ask you
I
that.
thought he wasn't even going to ask.
I gotta
us.
ask. I'm
What a
sorry.
rude-
Listen, I'm so
what a
excited
rude
to get
host.
I'm excited to get to the picks for the people.
Like he doesn't even care.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Good. Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
That's all I get.
I didn't think United was going to score against Bilbao, and we scored 3 times. Probably should have scored like 7 times.
Well,
But by the time this episode comes out, we may have blown it in the second leg. So, but as of right now, I'm pretty happy.
yeah, you don't even care about the EPL anymore.
No.
No, you know that you can't get relegated, so you're just cruising for that Europa League.
Wait, let me make sure we can't get relegated. No.
I know.
And Phil, we'll talk about something later. Your team had some good news coming in, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah. Don't bury the lead.
I'm not, I'm just giving a little hint to the people. All right, now, transfers. No one ever asks how I am, but that's okay. We'll go to the
The host is, you're
hostess with the mostest.
you're the
Transfers.
narrator.
Comment on the video.
Transfers. Give us the transfers.
If I must. So, the top 2 transferred in players. The common theme on the ins list is players playing bad teams next week.
Yes.
And Kevin De Bruyne and Josko Guardiola fall into that. They're the top 2 transferred in players so far. De Bruyne finally scored. We like him to have some more returns against Southampton. Guardiola, that City defense has been much better over the last 4 to 5 weeks. So we're definitely in on them. Yohan Wissa, Brian Mbeumo are next. Wissa, I mean, he's been cooking, probably the most informed forward in the league right now.
Let the man cook.
Matheus Cunha is on there. Chris Wood, which is interesting because he's actually been on a pretty extended cold streak. Maybe those poor expected stats are starting to catch up with him. But
Another
they
stinker.
That's fixture chasing.
now they do play Leicester, but Leicester did just get a shutout.
Against Southampton. So
But I have to imagine the matchup is driving that one.
yeah.
I eat Nori's on here as well as our boy Jared, aka Gerard Bowen.
Gerard Bowen.
I mean, he should be transferring every week, just like I say.
You do call it, man. You do call it.
The outs. Bruno Fernandes is on here because he rested because United no longer cares about the Premier League.
True.
There's some Liverpool guys on here. Luis Diaz, Mo Salah is on here, which is maybe the first time this has happened this year, other than when they blanked.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Hey, we've talked about it.
They looked
We're
a little-
get into it again.
A little hungover against Chelsea, and they play Arsenal this next week. Jacob Murphy's on here along with his teammate Alexander Isak. I don't necessarily agree with Isak being on the outs. It's only 38,000 people. But the number 1 transferred out player I think is notable, and that's Bukayo Saka. And I have to imagine it's because they play at Liverpool, which makes sense.
Tough.
But we mentioned on the earlier episode this week, and last week we talked about how he'd been starting in the Champions League and not the Premier League since he came back. He did start and play, 85 minutes in their last game.
Yep.
So especially if they get knocked out by PSG this week in the Champions League, I think he's a pretty safe-ish start. Safe to get minutes in the last 3 games because Arsenal, like we also talked about last episode, suddenly have to need a couple points here to try and lock down second. So I thought it was interesting that he's the number 1 transfer out, but depending on what happens in the Champions League, I kind of like him for the last 3 games. But that is the notable stuff on the transfer ins and outs.
All right, so we're gonna start with some of the easiest matchups. I think some of these ones are no-brainers in terms of picking up some of the players, but we want to talk about, specifically who would we be interested in. Those teams are Man City. They get a matchup with Ipswich, and Nottingham Forest. They get a matchup with Leicester. The other match, we're not going to discuss it, but it is who's playing Southampton. Am I on the wrong
Forest.
here?
Forest
is. Oh, I'm sorry. Brentford's playing Ipswich.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the third one. So we want to start with Man City. Let's just start with Man City. Okay. Easy matchup. We've already said, Dave looked at transfers. A lot of players getting picked up from that team. So I'll start it off with Ederson and Gvardiol are the obvious choices. Shutout is absolutely in play for Man City this week. Ederson is expensive, but if you're playing for a shutout, it's not a bad choice. I would go with Gvardiol over him unless you want to double up on the defense. And Ruben Diaz would be the last defensive choice.
That's what I was going to say. I think if you want to double up, Guardiola Diaz might be the way to go.
Yeah, save some money. Diaz is not going to get you any offensive points.
He's low owned though, 4%.
He is low owned. He has no assists or goals in the season, so you're really playing shutout with him, Gvardiol. Chance at a goal there. But I agree, he's cheaper. He's cheaper than Ederson, so it makes sense. I would absolutely avoid Lewis. I don't know what they're doing with him, and frankly, any of the outside backs, because I don't know who Pep's going to play. If you look at the Wolves game, he played O'Reilly, Lewis, and Nunes.
Yeah, Nunez.
He played all three.
He
played all
loves
three.
Nunez. I wouldn't be surprised if Nunez was a consolidated starter for next year.
Yeah. Problem is, I don't know what he's going to do next week. So
yeah, Phil, we're talking about next week, not next year, you dumbass.
So I'm out. So I think defensively, it's pretty straightforward. If you're going to go with Ederson to get a goalie, makes sense. Otherwise, you're going to go with Ruben or Gvardiol.
Yep.
Now, midfield, what do you guys think? Because I think there's one guy we all know.
One guy.
Is there anyone else?
Not to me. No one else I would consider.
That's why.
De Bruyne.
De Bruyne's the one.
But Sessegnon has suddenly stopped playing. Foden has played 6 minutes in the last 4 games, which is wild.
No, it's like no one in the midfield's playing when you look at the stats. I don't know.
Doku started last. Bernardo Silva plays. Gundogan plays, but you're not.
Yeah, you're not
interested in those guys really.
Kovacic is coming in late.
It's a toss-up if they're going to get a return.
Yeah, it's just De Bruyne to me.
Yeah.
And even him, I don't like. If I'm honest, I like it because someone has to score a goal in this game, or get an assist. It's probably going to be him, but his inconsistency all season is the reason that I've been off-put by him.
I think the more interesting question is Haaland was on the bench the last game.
This is the big one.
And so what do we think about
I'm out.
The Egyptian Prince? You're out?
I'm out. I'm not playing Marmoush this week if I don't have to. Because I do think that Pep's going to try and find a way to get Haaland at least a couple minutes. I think he's going to want to get him back in a rhythm before the season ends. This is a great game to do it. But also, even if Haaland wasn't healthy, Marmoush has been doing nothing. I think there may have been a little bit of overhyping when he came into the team. He did have a decent run, but he's now blanked 3 times in a row. He's not a big forward. He's more of a speed guy. It just doesn't seem to be working right now for him. So I don't love him, but I mean, what say you?
I don't think he's not a forward necessarily.
Well, he's not meant to be.
He's a false 9, that number 10, or on a 4-3-3 can play that winger that's more inside, but normally have Doku, Grealish, Silva playing those roles. So it would be interesting to actually see him with Haaland on the field and playing off of each other.
That works better. That works better, I
which
think.
I don't think is going to happen during Gameweek 36. So it would be interesting switching off of Salah and picking up Haaland.
It would be interesting.
But I'm not doing it.
I'm opening that up. I'm not stating it.
I'm not doing that.
I think you might be a week early.
Yeah, Haaland might get 25 minutes, I think.
Yeah, I think this is the last week I would play Marmoush just because the matchup's so good. And then transfer him out next week for the last 2 games. Not just know that you can envision a world where they bring on Haaland at halftime, but they don't have to necessarily take Marmoush off the field to bring Haaland on.
Yeah.
And I think, like what Phil was alluding to, he can play in a couple different spots. So I think I'm willing to play him one more week.
I'd love to see them together.
So, moral of the Man City story: defense, get one, maybe two of Ederson, Gvardiol, Ruben Diaz. Midfield, if you're getting someone, KDB's frankly the only choice. I don't love him. I don't know if any of us love him, but he is the best option in a good matchup. And up front, again, I don't think we love him, but Marmoush is the best option in a good matchup. I don't think any of us are super excited that we have to play either of those guys, but when you're going up against a team like they are, it's very enticing. So I think that's where we stand with the City guys. Now on to Forest, who
This should be pretty quick.
I mean, it's
simple analysis.
They're almost it's almost identical teams right now, though, from FPL perspective, City and Forest. I mean, watch how this plays out, right? So top options from Forest: Sells, goalie; Milankovic, center back; Ina's back from injury, but I don't know if we trust him yet; and then Neco Williams, defender.
Murillo too.
Murillo, yes.
Any of them.
Any of the defenders.
Scored.
Any defenders that are getting 90 minutes. Take your pick. Who do you feel the best about?
Yeah.
Put them in. Midfield. Anyone excite you?
No.
Not really.
It's a toss-up again.
I love
Costco?
Costco
Why-
Foden, but he's been terrible.
Boom! 5 big booms!
Boom!
Costco Foden. And Alonga.
Longa.
I think Gibbs White and Alonga are the only two options, but again, we're just not...
Nah, they haven't been doing anything.
No,
I'm just not comfortable. It's not a team that scores a lot of goals. They're in 11th in goals, 53 goals in the season. It's been happening all year. They're just not a goal-scoring team. They rely on counterattacks, and a lot of that magic's kind of faded off.
Especially with Chris Wood, who has one goal since game week 25.
Again, up top, the only guy there is Chris Wood. But again, I don't feel comfortable. These matchups are good, but the players that you have to pick on offense for both these teams scare me. If we're picking from all these guys we just mentioned, KDB is probably the best option of every player that we talked about, not on the defense.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean, and who would have said that 5 weeks ago?
Nope. Yeah.
So-
Even when like I was on my Gibbs White kick, even like then we were acknowledging like, hey, all these guys are outperforming their underlying numbers. Turns out that does matter. So I feel like it's finally catching up to them here at the end of the year. But
Catches up.
I also think what I like about Forest this week, though, is that they've been really strong at home, where away they've been weaker. I think that's where kind of some of the recent inconsistencies are coming from, too. Where away they just struggle and don't do anything. They don't even keep the clean sheet. But home, they've been much stronger.
Yeah.
So home against Leicester.
it's a good one.
I think
So I guess bringing it together, how would you combine City and Forest?
if I had unlimited, like if I had a wild card, I would probably get Sells, Milankovic, Murillo, Ruben Diaz, and Gvardiol. I would probably stack my entire defense and goalie, and I would bank on 2 shutouts, and I wouldn't pick up any of the offensive players.
Yeah, I agree. There's a real chance people can be sitting there with Guardiola and Milankovic because Guardiola's 34% owned, Milankovic 18.
Yep.
If you do start them, you could, like we just said, you could load up with 3 defenders from these 2 matchups.
I would look if Gvardiol wasn't the only one of 2 options on the defense for that team, I would look elsewhere because he is the most owned defender for a differential, but there's just no one else to go with. Well, I'm saying if I'm getting both of them.
Oh, yeah.
There's no third option. So, yeah, if I'm picking, like, I'm just loading up on defenders. KDB would be the only other choice, but, again, he scares me a little bit, but I know a lot of people are going to have him. So, you know, it looked like it was going to be easy, but you start reading into these players, and you're like, I don't love any of them. So, yeah, it's
going with the D.
Yeah, we're going with the defense from them.
I love the D.
All right, now we'll move on to Brentford because they have the next easiest matchup. We're going to talk about 2 guys in particular. We're not talking about Mbumo. He had not even a bad week. I think we talked about it previously where when you see Brentford put up 4 goals and you see Mbumo only has an assist, subjectively that hurts. Objectively, it's a return. It's a decent week for him. He's good. Don't overthink Mbumo. If you have him, keep him. If you need a midfielder, pick him up. He's a great player, especially right now. We're going to talk about Kevin Schade and Wissa. So, do you want to start? You want me to start? Because I know you want to talk Wissa more. I want to talk Schade, so go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, nothing groundbreaking that people don't already know, but in my opinion, Yohan Wissa is he the most must-own forward the rest of the way? Like, who would you rather have over him? He has 7 goals and 2 assists in his last 10 games, 5 returns in his last 4 games. Good matchups the rest of the way. Ipswich this week, then Fulham and Wolves. I think if you don't have him, if you're sitting there with Mateta, if you're sitting there with Marmouche, probably the only forward I wouldn't get rid of him for is Isak and maybe Cunha. That's all. That's
Isak also has an Arsenal matchup mixed in there where you probably aren't going to want him. So yeah, I think he's absolutely top 2 right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's all I got. Get him if you don't have him.
Yeah. And he's cheap.
Yeah, I know. He's still
6.7. Yeah.
Like, fantastic option.
Can't go wrong.
You save money getting rid of any one of those guys I just said.
Yep.
All right, and then I'll hit Kevin Schade. The only other guy on this team, I think. I mean, if you want to look into Brentfield defenders, you can, because it's a fairly easy matchup. Did I say Brentfield?
Brentfield.
Oh, jeez. Brentford.
I think Gerard Bowen plays for them.
Yeah. Brentford. If you want to look into any of their defenders because of the matchup, feel free. They've given up 53 goals though, so that's eighth most. So yeah. I'm not interested in Brentford defenders.
Probably not.
Their games are chaos.
Yeah. So Kevin Schade, I want to start off with just talking about the future for a second. Mbumo and Wissa, the team is preparing for offers in the summer. So one or both of them could be gone. I have to think they're going to try and keep one of them. My guess is Mbumo might go and Wissa would stay. But either way, I think Kevin Schade, 23 years old, is primed next season to have a really, I would call it probably a breakout season. He's only, like I said, he's only 23. And you can see when he's on the ball, when he gets a lot of touches, he produces. He's had a couple games this year where he's really popped off. It's just the 6 to 8 games in between those that kind of hurt him. But no, taking it back to Gameweek 36, I love the Ipswich matchup. I'm not picking him up this week, personally. I like the matchup, but again, it's one of those things where he had a good game. Let's not overhype it, because earlier in the season he had a good game, and I did overhype it. And I did buy in, and I got nothing out of it. He has now 2 returns in a row. That's the first time in his career he's had 2 returns in a row, by the way. He's never had 2 returns in a row. Granted, he was hurt most of last year, but to never have 2 in a row and then assume he's going to get a 3rd return in a row, I'm just out on that. What do you have to say? Go ahead.
Well, can I hype him?
Yeah.
Over the last 3 weeks, he's second amongst all midfielders in XFPL and expected goals, only to Salah. He is number 1 in big chances. I think he's 3rd in points, 4th in points, 1 behind Mbumo. So he's been really good. He's playing consistently. He's got a good schedule. He's 1% owned.
I get it. No, I get the appeal's there. And I think he's a great player.
He might have convinced me on Kevin Schade from Brentfield.
What about the one from Brentford? Is he
him
out?
Too?
Him
Both
too? But my issue is he's only had a return in 9 of 35 games.
That's fair.
Again, he gets 1 return. This is the first time he's had 2. And then he goes on an 8-game streak of nothing. And I need to see more consistent numbers before I put a guy in that basically, we're talking a 50-50 chance right now. 50% chance that he has a goal or an assist, 50% chance he gets nothing. And I'm not big on those odds right now. But again, if you want to be different, if you're trying to catch people,
he's definitely a differential.
He is to me the top differential pick this week.
I agree.
If you want to be different and you need a differential pick, he's the number 1 pick this week. I don't really think it's all that close. Unless you're picking like a random defender from one of those 2 teams, Forest or City. Like if you pick one of the wing backs on City and hope they play, right? That would be a big differential as well. But offensively, I think he's the best differential you're going to get this week.
I agree with you.
I would agree.
Great. I'm glad.
Nice.
I'm
Good job, Sean. Good job.
Smart, so that's just what I do. All right.
I tried finding something to argue, but I couldn't. Spot on.
Spot on.
Spot on, mate.
What's that quote from
Oi.
Billy Madison?
That was perfect. We have no response.
You still don't know that, do you?
Or
He made that show a couple weeks ago, and Phil's like, "Well, what movie is
you
that
never
from?"
seen Billy Madison?
I have. I love the movie, but that seems like such a plain.
No,
The Raging Cajun, James Carville.
it's when they're on when he's doing like
stage.
they're like answering it, and
Yeah.
he gives like a crazy answer, and he's like, "No, that was literally perfect. I have
We have no response." Yeah.
All right, and we're gonna move on.
Good for you guys.
We're going to move on to a player that really we didn't talk about the whole season, and he's kind of popping off, and that is Yuri Tielemans. 5.5 million. He's only 1.4% owned. They get a Bournemouth matchup away this week. So, I don't want to dive too deep into his numbers. All I'll say is he sits 5th right now amongst midfielders in points since game week 31. He has 32 points. And in that same time, only 2 guys have more expected assist numbers than him. That is Bruno at 0.37 and Salah at 0.38. That's per 90. His expected goal numbers aren't great, but is he an option for either of you this week, Yuri Tielemans?
Probably not. I get it. Like you said, in his good run here, the last 4 or 5 games.
4 or 5 games, yeah.
The creative numbers are there
They're there.
for sure.
He's getting a lot. The only person, by the way, that had more touches and more passes than Kevin De Bruyne, I think I mentioned it,
Tielemans.
Yuri Tielemans. So he's very involved right now.
And he's on set pieces too, which always gives you that.
I could see it. He's also 1% owned, but I think he falls in the same bucket as Schade. Like he's a differential play.
If you're going differential, yes. If not, if you were to pick out 4 or 5 midfielders, you probably wouldn't land on him by that 5th pick. He might be 7 or 8 or whatever. So
in that time period, the 5 guys above him, tell me of these guys, who would you take over him? Jared Bowen.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. So would I. Trossard. Take Yuri Tielemans this week or Trossard?
Just for this week?
This week, yes.
Oh boy, who does Villa? Villa plays
Bournemouth away. Like, they're not easy matchups either of them. I wouldn't pick either this week.
You have to pick. You have to pick one.
I probably would take just Tielemans for just this week.
Yeah. And then the next 2 above him, would you take Murphy or Barnes over Tielemans this week?
Boy, I knew you were going to ask this.
Well, no.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Is there's only 4 guys above him in these last recent weeks, and we just basically shown that 3 of those guys above him, you don't even want them this week. Does it say that maybe he's is worth it? Is the point I'm trying to get at. And I understand it's a small time frame, right? So
I think oh man,
you're starting to think about it a little bit,
I see what you're doing and what you're
point.
saying, but and it's a good point, but like, who do you fit him in your midfield for?
Well, give me 5 midfielders over him.
All right, Bowen.
Well, give me I know, but give me 5.
think
you would play 4. Give me 4 midfielders you would play in your team over him then.
I think I would still take Harvey Barnes over him.
So give me
4
midfielders
Bowen.
you want. Okay.
So you have Bowen, you have Mbumo.
Yep.
You probably have Salah or Palmer or Saka.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't take Palmer or Saka.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, but I'm sure teams have one of those guys.
I'm asking you to give me, since you're saying that you can find better guys, I'm asking you to just pick 4 guys that you would play this week over him if FPL picks and money wasn't a thing. Just pick 4 guys.
They play Spurs.
Semenyo.
I don't think Sessegnon. I can go with Eze, not Sessegnon.
I wouldn't do the Sessegnon one. Sorry, Phil. As much as I
it's
love
fine.
him.
Semenyo has in the last.
You're making it. You guys are making it more confusing than it needs to be.
2 goals, 2 assists.
I'll summarize it for you since you're making it so confusing. You said Bowen, you said Salah, you said Mbumo, and you think Eze. You would take those 4 over him.
I would take Barnes.
See, I think the whole point that I'm trying to make here is it's not a simple black and white answer, whereas 1.4%, most people probably think it is.
I would take Kevin De Bruyne for this week over him. But your point is fair. Yeah. He's in the same bucket with Schade as differential midfielder, if I can talk.
Yeah, I think he's gone under the radar.
Yeah.
And this week he had an amazing game. So yeah, again, he's not a must buy. Of course,
No.
Bournemouth is a good team, but he is definitely someone to consider, I think.
If you had a wild
that.
card or if you had a free hit
Yeah.
and you just needed him for this week,
Yeah.
he probably would fit in perfectly into a free hit team.
I think
To your
that's fair.
point.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
For a wild card or wasting a transfer on him, that's where it's probably like
yes, I would not
a
use
little
a
too
transfer.
risky.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. All right, so
Damn, way to summarize that on my part.
yeah, it was good. Moral of the
I brought
story.
us together.
Moral of the story.
Did you?
Just like Kevin Schade, if you need a differential, Yuri Tielemans has been on absolute fire. He's dominating and might be worth giving a shot. Tough matchup though, Bournemouth away, so be aware. But let's move on to the next guy, someone that I mentioned last week that I have to talk about again this week because I'm a little confused at what's going on over in Fulham world. New developments. I backed Sessegnon last week, and at the time he was a top points defender. Since game week 27, he's now dropped to second, 1 point behind Schade because he had 0 points this week. But he did almost score in a handball. I know you can't do that, but he almost did it.
Messi and Maradona.
Like he had a little help. He just slapped the ball down for a second, scored a goal. No one was moving. Did you see the goal?
Yeah,
That was
but
funny.
didn't Evan Nelson's goal, wasn't that a handball too?
It was, but it wasn't.
But I guess they like Fulham.
But I
They don't like Fulham. No, I mean, he scored a goal on a really weak shot because literally no one was moving. They were all standing there like, handball.
yeah,
So,
fair
but
enough.
he's still very involved. A little, I don't know if the right word's concerned because he's definitely a good enough player that he can play in different positions, but he generally is considered a left back or left mid. He's been playing right mid some of these games recently. So I don't know. He came out after 56 minutes, and it's a little scary. So I'm trying to decide this week, is he worth getting? Because he's a defender playing midfield. It's very rare to get that. So he gets the full shutout points. Like, they're playing Everton this week. So he would get the full shutout points, and he's obviously super involved in the offense. But on the flip side, again, he only played 56 minutes last week. I don't know how comfortable he actually is on that right side. He looked okay in this last game, but he played very little before Robinson started kind of coming up with an injury. He wasn't really playing at all. So could he just go right back to the ugly duckling and not get a lot of minutes? The matchup's enticing to me. I think he's been a top-tier defender over the last 7 game weeks. Anyone got advice for me? I need a little bit.
I think for this week, he's a great opportunity, especially at his price. I don't trust Everton to necessarily score, so I think even if he doesn't get a return, he could get a clean sheet, which I guess is a return in a defender's world, but you guys get my point.
Yes.
What I don't think is he's good for the long run for the last 3 games. Because then they have Brentford away and City at home. So if you have him on your team, I would probably say keep him. If you're not picking up kind of those City and Forest guys, then he could become a really good option back there. But I don't know if you pick him up this week because, again, last 2 games of against Brentford and City, I don't think would look good for him. So that's where
Windy.
we have a storm
We got
going
a
on.
storm coming in.
Tornado.
Jeez.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. To your point,
I was going to say the same thing, Phil.
Nice.
I think if you liked him the last couple weeks, you should still like him for 1 more week.
I do. I think if I was guaranteed he's playing 80 minutes, no brainer.
Yeah.
He could potentially get a shutout and an assist or goal against
I wouldn't
Everton.
worry too much about him getting subbed off the last game.
Because I think I could very well see a shutout. Like, to me, that's the best chance. But I could definitely see him getting another goal.
Yeah.
Like, this could be a really big game for him. I think it's a good matchup. It's just, if he plays 56 minutes, I don't love that.
Yeah,
He was dangerous in that last game. He was dangerous. He was up the field. He was getting in the...
But if he plays 60 and then gets subbed out, he gets the clean sheet. So then you're looking at 6-point return.
Yeah, I think my point stands. If you liked him the last couple weeks, you should still like him for this game.
Yep.
I mean, I'm in on him. I think the potential lack of minutes may have just been a 1-week thing. I'm still in on him. I think I have him, so I'm fully in on him still.
Yeah.
I think it could be a good week for him. Again, to your point though, if you're just loading up on the City Forest guys, do that. But if you have an extra spot, you want a differential. We're all about differentials today, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at us. Sessegnon, that's probably one of the best defensive differentials you're going to get, if not from the City Forest
Agreed.
backlines. All right. On to what I mentioned a little earlier. A little surprise for Phil today. Trent's farewell.
Welcome to the greatest club in the world. Trent, you're about to win a lot of titles here.
Yeah, well, Mbappe thought that too.
I don't know. Barca's pretty good.
Barca's not bad.
Well, when you have the entire government and ref association in your favorites, it's pretty easy to be good at this.
I think Miami FC has the same thing in the MLS, right?
They suck. They just got knocked out by Vancouver.
Just trying to make a messy joke.
Oh, Messi's old news. We already know that the FIFA.
Now we hate Yamal. Messi sucks. Now Yamal sucks
Jamal's
more.
a piece of crap.
Yeah, watch it.
I said crap.
That's a joke. He's really good.
He is really good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
what do you want to talk
So
about with
I'll-
Trent?
Trent,
Overhyped.
I started the conversation off because that was the big news of the day. Trent announced he's officially out. He's going to Real Madrid, probably the best defender in the EPL. But
Defender or like FPL?
For fantasy.
for fantasy, yeah.
Oh, okay,
fantasy
yeah,
FPL
yeah.
defender, sorry. So he's out of here. But we need to talk about Liverpool because there's some interesting stuff going on, and we've mentioned it a few weeks ago. We mentioned it again this week. Like, are they in a hangover mode? Is Salah worth playing for the rest of the season? Like, where are we at? I think let's start here. Let's start with Virgil.
All right.
Is he playable this week? Would you put him in? Do you think they're going to get a shutout?
I'm not going to call it likely. I mean, they're a good defensive team, and they're at home, so they could.
Arsenal's a bad offensive team right now.
But, yeah, he's not a bad play. I think if you have him, I would take any of the City and Forest guys over him if you have transfers.
Sure.
But I don't think he's somebody that you need to get rid of.
Yeah.
He's 26% owned, so a lot of people have him. Close the window. It's raining out there, man.
Water and electronics don't go
No
together.
mix.
We all
Yeah.
just get zapped by vision.
He's 26% owned, so a lot of people do have him. I think if you have him, me personally, I'm not letting the Arsenal matchup scare me off. I'm leaving him in. I just think Arsenal's offense is hit or miss every week, and I could easily see them getting shut out. So I don't mind. I don't know if you're with me on that. You seem like you might be.
No. I think you don't waste a transfer to transfer him out and bring someone else.
But I'm saying if he's on your team already, are you going to bench him?
I don't think so.
I think you see. But look at Dave. This guy's face. Dave's thinking about benching him.
I don't
It's going to
think
be a
so.
problem because we have a team that we
think
need to make a decision on.
It will be. Let's do that off camera so we
Yeah.
fight. But I just think both teams aren't really playing for much. That is normally a recipe for a low scoring game. So if it goes that route, I don't mind Virgil. And Liverpool's back home after winning the title, so I think they're going to come out this game a little stronger than the last game. And Arsenal again,
I'd agree with that.
yeah.
It's a coin flip to me. There's options I like better, but
All right.
if you have them and you need to play them, that's fine.
Okay.
It's the best I got for
You didn't
it.
like that
That's
face.
fine.
All right. Salah then, another guy that, for me, he's 71% owned. But is this the week to be different? Is this the week to put him on the bench and play someone else while
Bring in
every?
Tielemans?
Wow, you don't have to bring someone. I mean, you could bring someone in, but all I'm saying is he's still been good recently, like as an FPL player. Like, but for his stats, he's getting a return, not a return, return, not a return. That's not good for him this season. Arsenal's a really good defensive team. Like, I am very tempted to put Salah on my bench this week, and either pick up a different mid or play a different mid. And if Salah blanks, now I've hopefully gained points on everyone else.
Yeah. I think if you're not starting him, you might as well transfer him out and try to bring in Erling Haaland for the final stretch here.
Yeah, but you don't want him against Brighton or Crystal Palace then?
Salah.
Yeah. You're out for the rest of the season.
I honestly don't see a difference like Arsenal at home versus those other fixtures for Salah.
Sir.
Phil, you took the words out of my mouth with the first half of that.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, you're not agreeing with that statement, right? That's wild.
I think if you're benching him this week, Salah, I think you should do what Phil said, and if you're benching him this week, it's because you need to catch people.
Yeah.
And you're hoping he doesn't give you a return. I think if you're going to do that, I think given where Liverpool's at, if you're going to do that, you might as well transfer him out, in my opinion. I think this is the time to do it.
Am I hearing what I think I'm hearing?
But if you don't, if you like where your rank is, or you just aren't that risk averse, if you have him, I think you play him.
Yeah, you play him, and you play him, but you don't captain him.
Don't
hot takes. Hot takes.
Your differential's not captaining him.
It's also
and if he blanks, that's perfect because your captain's either going to time or do better, and that's where.
The only way, let me just summarize this. The only way I think you are getting rid of him, benching him and or transferring him out, is if you really need to catch people, and maybe you don't have Mbumo or Bowen or Kevin De Bruyne or something like that. That's the only way, is if you really need to catch people.
Hot takes here. Hot takes.
Other than that, if you're happy with your position, or like I said, you just don't want to be that risky, you're starting him and playing him, not captaining him.
All right, so Fireside, moral of the story: get rid of Salah. He's useless. Get him off your lineup.
Scrap.
Or play him. Keep playing him, and don't.
All right, so get him off your lineup or keep playing him. Either way, we didn't really give any info with that.
Just don't put him on your bench.
Just don't put him on the bench. That's a fair point.
No, but I will double down. I don't see any difference in this game home, given how Liverpool and Arsenal are right now in the league, versus Brighton away.
So give me one of the two options. Are you leaving him? If you right now, we have him. Are you leaving him on the team? Or are you trading him out? If you had to pick one of those options.
For our team?
Yeah, well, whatever we would give advice, we also would do for our team.
If I knew Erling were going to play the last 3 games and I need to think about it a bit, I would probably trade him out for
Holland.
But if not, if I can't be guaranteed the minutes for Holland, then I'm keeping Salah on my team. I'm playing him. I'm just not captaining him.
Same with you?
Same
with you. All right. That's fair. The last piece is looking at Arsenal. I don't want any of their defenders. I don't think any of us want any of their defenders. We don't want anyone up front. The only person that I'm going to assume we're all agreed that is interesting is Saka. Maybe not just for this week, but to end the season. Thinking more of a future look for the next 3 games. Dave, you're the Saka whisperer. He's one of your favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, it's what I said at the start. I mean, regardless of if they get knocked out of the Champions League or not, he started and played 85 minutes, in between these 2 PSG games.
Yeah.
Previously, he had been starting the Champions League, playing like 20 or 30 minutes in the Premier League. But if they're going to give him 85 minutes like that in between, their 2 biggest games of the year, he must be fit. And so
I would agree.
Liverpool, Newcastle aren't the 2 best fixtures. They get Southampton in the last game. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I wouldn't be as afraid of this Liverpool matchup as I would have been, a month ago.
I think just knowing the match, it's good to talk about him because it is good to recognize that he's back, but it doesn't make sense to get him to the Southampton game. I don't think minutes, no minutes. It just, for me, get him if you want him in Southampton, but I wouldn't force it, especially as we just named 5-6 midfielders we'd rather have. So
true.
But it's good to note that he is back. A lot of people weren't sure what was going on, but it does seem like he's fit.
What's his ownership?
Depending on how they do,
19%.
Still, might be a lot of dead accounts. Might be a lot of dead accounts. Depending on how they do against PSG, it's going to change it too. So we'll see. They're down 1-0, so we'll see how they perform. But that is it. That's all we got. If you're interested in what we decide for our final team, right? We did a lot of talking about it. Tune in, YouTube, Instagram, Thursday. We're going to drop our team. Dave's going to give you a rundown of who we went with, why we went with them. Check that out every single Thursday. It comes out around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But other than that, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Phil, why would they do that again?
It's free. It doesn't cost you anything.
That's right. It's so free. It doesn't cost you anything. We really appreciate it. Find us on X.
More likes.
Twitter.
Find us on Instagram.
Twitter. That's right.
Listen to us anywhere you listen to podcasts. And we'll be back here next week. Same time, same place. looking back at Game Week 26, looking forward to Game Week 27. So we're getting ready to close out the season.
Yep.
It's exciting stuff. Our first official season doing this channel. So it's exciting for us. And with that, see you.
Chip.
Bye.